I am Anna, 46, eldest daughter, married, 2 kids in college. I live 20 miles from my mother. My father's name was Richard Hale, Navy veteran. He kept a blue folder in the bottom desk drawer, block letters on the tab, survivor benefits. He ironed his church shirts on Sunday nights. He wiped the iron's plate with a brown paper bag and a pinch of salt. He said it kept the glide smooth. He said, "You have to care for the tool that cares for the fabric." He said it like a small sermon. He never raised his voice. He set his watch by the evening news. He died in April. Hart gave a tired cough, then gave up. We buried him under the pin oak near the flag line. The grass at the cemetery lay flat as a pressed shirt. The honor guard folded the flag. Tight corners, quiet hands. The bugle made the air thin. My mother held the triangle like a box of light. Back home, I took the blue folder. I took his watch, his reading glasses, and a little spiral notebook with oil stains. The folder felt heavier than it looked. Plastic edge, faintly rough. It squeaked against my palm when I lifted it. Inside were copies. DD-214 VA letters, a list of phone numbers he trusted. My cell circled in red. Beside it, in pencil, "Call Anna first." I stood at my kitchen table and touched the note with one finger. The wood under my finger was cool. The late sun made a pale stripe across the page. The dog sighed and flopped by the chair. My aunt's name is Carol, my father's younger sister. She calls herself practical. She calls other people soft. After the funeral lunch, casseroles, ham, sheet cake, we gathered in the living room. People spoke in little islands. My mother sat with her church friends. My husband carried trays back to the kitchen. My aunt set her purse on Dad's recliner like it was now hers. She looked at the framed photo of Dad in uniform and said, "It's just clothes." The words hit the air and hung there. Just clothes. She said it again to my mother like a kindness. "You can donate his stuff this week, Jean. Don't drag it out. It's just clothes." I heard the tone. That little knife a family uses when no one else is looking. I kept my voice level. "Give it a week," I said. "Let Mom breathe." My cousin Pete nodded as if weighing meat. "Or hire a service," he said. "No need to pick through memories." I picked up Dad's jacket from the back of a chair. It held the faint smell of cedar chips and starch. My thumb traced the name tape. H-A-L-E. The fabric gave a little. The stitches did not. I put it back where I found it. I kept my voice steady. The jacket was not a sermon. It was not a relic. But it wasn't just clothes. The next days were a list. Hospice bills, oxygen rental, mileage to the VA clinic. My sisters texted hearts, then fell back to busy lives. My stepfather, Gordon, offered to handle logistics for Mom. He meant the bank. He liked to present options already decided. He said it soothed people. He wore soft shirts the color of oatmeal. He held his hands palm up when he talked, as if he came with empty pockets and good intentions. The call came on a Tuesday. The bank flagged activity on a joint account. My mother sounded small on the phone. "They said someone asked about the safe deposit box," she said. "I don't even remember the key." "I do," I said. "It's in the red mug on the hall shelf." "Your aunt has one too," she said. "From when your father set it up before his surgery." He said, "Keep it easy." Easy is a thin word. It covers a spill without cleaning it. I went by the house that night. The hall smelled like pledge and old coffee. The red mug held the key, cold against my palm. It clicked against my ring. I put it in an envelope and sealed it with clear tape. I wrote the date across the seam. I put the blue folder beside it. Then I sat with Mom at the kitchen table. We drank black tea from thick mugs. We did not talk much. Some grief is a job you do with your spine. By Friday, there was a group text. Aunt Carol, Cousin Pete, my sisters, Gordon. A line of messages stacked like bricks. "We should meet Saturday," Aunt Carol wrote. "The will needs daylight." "At the house," Pete added. "Save on legal fees." "Church hall is quiet," my mother wrote. House is better, Aunt Carol wrote. You can point at things. I felt the nudge in that. I let it pass. 2, I typed. I'll bring Dad's folder. Saturday came cool and bright. The house wore its weekend light. I set the blue folder on the table. The plastic mouth opened with a soft scrape. Paper edges flashed white and straight. Aunt Carol looked at the stack and smiled with one side of her mouth. She pulled a stapled packet from her purse. Family memo, she said. We all agree, we sign, we move on. I flipped the first page. No letterhead, no notary. Lines about fairness. And Dad would have wanted. A list of items with names beside them. A soft roll of language around the safe deposit box. Just to keep things smooth. My name did not appear near the box. It did not appear near the executor line either. Where is the will? I asked. She tapped her packet. This is easier. Where is the will? I asked again. In his desk, she said. Or the bank, Pete said. He told Mom not to fuss. Mom stared at her hands. She brushed lint off her sleeve as if it mattered more than this. Your father hated conflict, she said. Please. I kept my voice low. So do I. We did not sign the memo. The air in the room tightened like a new shoe. Words got curt, chairs scraped. My cousin laughed the way men laugh when they want the women to feel silly. My stepfather cleared his throat and offered neutral third-party services. He looked at me when he said third party, as if the first and second were too much trouble. I thanked him and said we would use the court. The petition hearing went on the docket for late May. A small courtroom in the county building. Pale walls, seal above the bench, a flag in the corner. The wooden pews had a shine like fresh bread. The carpet smelled like a hotel conference room. The clerk's pen ticked like a metronome. The fluorescent bulbs hummed. We sat in 2 rows. Family split like a river around a rock. My mother sat with our church friend Bev. She held her purse with both hands. Aunt Carol sat behind the aisle as if it were a border she crossed by choice. Pete leaned forward, elbows on knees. Gordon picked a spot by the door with a clear line of sight. My sisters whispered and watched their phones. I put the blue folder on my lap. I laid my hands on it like prayer. When the judge entered, we stood. We sat. He scanned the docket. His voice had the even weight of a weather report. He called our case. He looked down at us like a teacher counting heads after a field trip. Our lawyer was a woman with neat hair and a neat binder. She did not smile much. She liked short questions. She carried a small stack of tabs like flags. She wrote notes with a black pen that did not scratch. She said my name like a fact. She said my father's name with respect. She called him Mr. Hale, and when the documents called for it, veteran. Aunt Carol's lawyer wore a blue tie and a smirk. He said words like equitable and family harmony. He said VA benefits were pocket money and should not complicate the natural order of a family. He said my aunt had supported her brother emotionally in the final months and that this should weigh in. He offered no dates. He offered no receipts. He smiled as if charm were a proof. My lawyer asked if the memo had signatures. It did not. If the will had a notary, it did. If the executor listed in the most recent will was me, it was. If the VA letter arrived before or after the will update, before. She asked for no speeches, only dates, only names, only ink. I thought of my father folding shirts, salt on the paper bag, the glide of the iron, smooth the path, don't burn the cloth. The judge looked at the memo and put it aside. He did it gently. That small kindness made my chest ache. He asked to see the will. He asked about the safe deposit box. He asked who had keys. Mom raised her hand. Aunt Carol raised hers. I felt the small envelope in my bag. The tape's edge had puckered where my thumb pressed it down. I passed it to my lawyer. She slid it onto the table with the motion of a dealer stacking cards. She said nothing. The judge nodded. We took turns at the stand. I kept my answers clean. Time, place, what I did, what I paid, the hospice nurse's name, the gas station where I filled the tank on chemo days, the VA clerk who called back on a holiday. I felt my own voice steady itself on the rail of simple words. Aunt Carol took the stand with a sigh. She spoke about childhood. She spoke about sacrifice. She spoke about my father borrowing her lawnmower and not returning it once on time. The blue tie let her talk. He looked at the ceiling. He let her draw a soft blanket over a hard chair. The judge watched. He did not stop her until she circled back to the memo. Then he asked for dates. She gave general seasons. She said, we all know how it was. He said, on what date? She blinked. She pressed her lips together. Winter, she said. Across the aisle, Pete shifted. His shoe squeaked. He looked at his hands as if they were new. There was a moment about the jacket, the uniform in the hall closet, the one I had touched after the funeral. My aunt mentioned it when asked why she had entered my mother's house on Thursday with a tote labeled donations. It's just clothes, she said. He didn't need them. My lawyer did not make a speech. She asked if the jacket had any paperwork in the pocket. My aunt froze. She said she did not check. She said, it's just clothes. I felt something straighten inside me. A line pulled tight and clean. It is not just clothes, I said in my head, but I said nothing out loud. The judge heard the tone anyway. He glanced at the blue folder. He said, let's return to documents. We broke for lunch. The hallway outside the courtroom smelled like coffee and copy toner. The vending machine rattled. A bailiff laughed at something on his phone. I found a bench by the window and ate a granola bar without tasting it. The wrapper made a dry sound like paper under an iron. My phone buzzed. A message from Bev in all caps. Your signal has been received. She meant the way I had answered. Clean lines, no stories, just the truth as it sits on paper. I smiled. I answered with a heart and a thank you. Then I stood and stretched my back. When we returned, the bank camera came up. My lawyer had filed a subpoena that morning, based on new activity the bank had flagged. The manager sent over a short clip with a timestamp. The judge put on his glasses. He watched the screen with the patience of a man tying a knot. It showed the lobby on Monday, 2 days after the funeral, the flag outside reflected in the glass doors. The same flag now hung in my mother's living room. The clip showed Aunt Carol at the counter. She smiled at the teller. Family charm at work. The teller made a call. A manager joined. A signature card lay on the counter like a dare. The clip showed her pointing toward a hall. It cut off there. But the timestamp matched the access log for the safe deposit boxes. The teller, now sworn, said the visit happened. The manager said the signature did not match the authorized list. A small thing. Not yet theft. But a mouth on the jar? The blue tie called it grief confusion. He called it a harmless check. He called it nothing. The judge's face did not change. My aunt looked smaller in that big wooden room. Pete stared at the floor. Gordon folded his hands and unfolded them again, as if searching for correct neutral. We moved to the VA piece. The blue folder felt warm now from my lap. My hands were dry. I thought of my father's pencil note. Call Anna first. The paper had that faint, waxy drag of laser print. The date on the VA award letter sat in the top corner like a clear bell. It named his service. It named his condition. It named the benefit and the effective date. It named me in a sentence that simply said who to contact if he could not. My lawyer asked to have the DD-214 read into the record. She asked because the VA letter leaned on that document, one paper upon the other like a bridge with trusses. She did not speak to the room. She spoke to the law. The judge nodded. He used the word admitted. The clerk reached for the page. The paper made a small sound when it left the folder. A stiff slide. The ink looked almost blue against the white. My father's name printed under the branch of service. his rank, his dates, his last duty station, the stack of acronyms a man carries without ever bringing them up at dinner. That was when it happened. My aunt, in a voice too loud for the space, said, "She doesn't deserve a cent. She didn't even come on Thursdays." The room breathed in. The blue tie put a hand on her arm. The judge lifted his eyes. I did not answer my aunt. I looked at the paper. The lines on it looked like planks across water. I set my fingers on the edge of the blue folder. My nails made no sound. The light through the high window slipped across the bench and touched the top line of the form. The judge said, "We will proceed." He read my father's name aloud. He read the service. He read the dates. He read the honorable discharge. He read the medals. He read the words, as if they were not a boast or a plea, but a set of coordinates. They placed my father in a map that did not move. The room went still. Even the hum of the bulbs seemed to step back. My mother closed her eyes. Bev folded her hands. I could hear the bailiff's breath, slow and even. The DD-214 ended with a line about character of service. The judge paused there, not as a show, but the way a person pauses at a headstone to make sure the name is right. He looked at my aunt. He looked at me. He said, "We will now consider the will alongside the VA record." Aunt Carol did not speak. Her mouth pressed flat. Pete's shoulders rounded. Gordon's eyes went to the floor and stayed there. I felt something settle. Not victory. Not yet. A weight shifting from one shoulder to both feet. Standing weight. Work weight. The kind that means keep going. After the reading, my lawyer brought the will forward. The updated one. The notary seal sat like a pressed coin. The ink smelled faintly sharp even after months. The names looked plain, no flourish. The instructions were simple. Executor, me. Successor, my sister, then a cousin if both of us refused. Gifts to mom. A note about a military burial flag. Keep it in the family, it said. No donation. My father anticipated the phrase, just clothes, without using it. He knew his sister. He knew what not to invite. The judge compared dates. He asked the clerk to mark the VA letter and the will as tied by chronology. He spoke it in neutral words, a thin bridge of language, strong enough to carry a fact. The blue tie stood. He tried to reopen the memo as evidence of intent. The judge said the memo lacked the power it claimed. He used a dry phrase that meant, not worth the ink it's printed with. Aunt Carol stared at the back wall. She did not look at me. She didn't have to. I wasn't asking for eye contact. I wanted the record to speak and the room to hear. We broke again. 10 minutes. I walked to the restroom and washed my hands. The water ran cool. The paper towel was rough, the kind that leaves dust on your palm. In the mirror, I looked a little older. Grief adds years in small stacks. But my eyes were clear. My spine felt like a straight brass rod. I thought of Dad's shirts on wire hangers, crisp lines, quiet dignity. "It's just clothes," the voice in my head said, the wrong voice. Then my own voice answered it, steady and final. "Not just clothes. A uniform holds a life's weight in stitches you can see and stitches you can't." I came back to the hall. Bev squeezed my hand. "That line you drew," she whispered. "We all saw it." "Your signal has been received," I said. We both smiled. When the hearing resumed, the bank manager testified about protocol. The teller testified about the visit. There was no accusation, only procedure laid next to time. It made a clean sound, like a bowl set down on a table. The judge asked if there were objections to appointing the named executor. The blue tie said there were concerns. He pointed to my temper. He did not know he had never seen it. He pointed to family friction. He said a neutral administrator would cost money, yes, but would save grief. He spoke as if grief and cost were the same coin. My lawyer said nothing about my character. She said only that the will named me. The law affirmed that naming, that I had provided receipts, logs, and dates, that the other side had offered a memo, a visit, and anecdotes. The judge nodded. He wrote something with a fountain pen. The nib made a soft, whispering sound like someone crossing out a mistake without tearing the page. He said we would return to the matter of the box after reviewing the access log in full. He said anyone who had removed items would declare them. He said failure to declare would be read as intent to conceal. His voice did not change tone. It did not need to. Aunt Carol whispered to Pete. He lifted his chin like a man about to run. He did not. The judge turned to me. Ms. Hale, he said, would you like to make a brief statement before we set the next date? I stood. My knees did not shake. I held the blue folder. It felt like a good weight in my hands. I spoke to the air between us. Not to my aunt. Not to the back row. Not to the part of me that still wanted to explain myself to people who enjoyed not understanding. Only this, I said. My father asked me to keep things straight. I will. I won't rename work as pocket change. I won't call uniforms just clothes. I will share receipts and share decisions, and I will keep my mother's home quiet. The judge looked at me for a long moment. Then he nodded once. He turned to the clerk. Let the record reflect, he said. Proceed with appointment pending filing of bond. Continued 2 weeks. The gavel did not bang. He simply stood. We did too. The bench emptied like a tide going out. People gathered their coats and their stories. Some stories grew smaller when held to light. In the hall, Aunt Carol brushed past me. She smelled like hairspray and mints. This isn't over, she said without turning. No, I said. It's not. I watched her walk down the corridor. Her heels made sharp little notes on the tile. The sound faded near the elevators. The doors closed. I exhaled. Bev hugged my mother. Gordon hovered behind them like a neutral ghost. My sisters asked about dinner. Normal questions. Normal life. The floor under my feet felt level again. That night I drove home with the blue folder on the passenger seat. The streetlights strobed it silver, then dark, then silver again. The house greeted me with a lamp left on and the smell of lemon dish soap. I put the folder on the table and took off my coat. The dog stretched and yawned. The sound was long and open. I poured water into a glass and drank it in one slow pull. I opened the folder and checked every paper. My hands found a smaller item I had overlooked. A funeral home card with a handwritten number on the back. The hospice nurse. Her name was Dawn. She had a voice like a coat in winter. Warm. Strong. I wrote a thank you note right then. Simple words on a blank card. I set it aside to stamp in the morning. Then I went to the hall closet and opened the door. The uniform hung where I had left it. The cedar smell was fainter now. The shoulders kept their shape. I ran my finger along the seam inside the pocket. My nail caught on a corner. A folded slip. Not paper. A cloth label. Hand-stitched. A tiny thread ran through it. Knotted at the end. My father's writing in laundry marker. R. Hale. The letters had bled into the weave just a little, like ink laid on fabric that drinks slow. I stood there a long time with my hand on the jacket. I didn't cry. The house was quiet. Quiet can feel like safety. It can also feel like a test you pass by standing still and breathing. At the next hearing, I knew all the talk would narrow to 2 or 3 points. The box, the reimbursements, the executor bond. You could fit them on an index card. Life gets that way. It stacks complicated years and then measures you with simple tools. I closed the closet gently. I turned off the lamp. I climbed the stairs. My knees sounded their age. The bed was cool. My husband turned and wrapped an arm around my waist. You did good, he whispered into my hair. The judge read it, I said. He squeezed my hand once. Your signal has been received. he said, half teasing, fully kind. I slept like a person who had set a heavy thing down but kept a hand on it, just in case. 2 weeks later, the county printed the continuance notice on dull paper. I put it in the folder. I added a tab for bank. I added one for box. I added one for receipts. The folder now had a body, like a thin animal fed back to health. The morning of the next hearing broke hot and bright. I wore a dark blouse and low heels with rubber soles. Practical is not a sin when it makes less noise. In my bag, the envelope with the key, the copies, a small bottle of water, 3 peppermints, 2 pens, 1 index card with the 3 points. At the courthouse door, I felt calm. My mother walked beside me, slow but steady. Bev met us under the seal in the lobby. Her hands held a file of church notes, just in case. My sisters came late, a little out of breath. Gordon held the door for everyone and said nothing. It was a good choice. We sat in the pew again. The wood felt warmer this time. Bodies leave heat behind. The clerk called the room to order. The judge took his seat. His pen lay straight beside his pad. The blue tie whispered to my aunt. He smiled without showing teeth. He expected a better day. He always expected that. People like that count on history being what they say it was. The judge began with the bank log. He read the dates. He asked the manager to confirm procedure. He asked my aunt to state what she had removed. Her face did a small thing, like a bird deciding whether to hop again. She said she had opened the box to check for dust. She said she had not removed anything. The manager said the box had been opened for 9 minutes. The log showed that standard inventory checks, when performed by staff, take 3. The judge asked about the second visit on Thursday. She said she'd forgotten. The log had not. The judge's voice did not sharpen. It simply stayed where it was. And everything else fell back from it. He asked me to open the sealed envelope with the key. He watched as I broke the tape. The sound was dry and clean, like a leaf torn down the vein. I handed the key to the clerk. The clerk handed it to the bailiff. The bailiff placed it on the bench. The small metal shone. In a moment, the judge said, "We will inventory the box." My aunt shifted. Pete crossed his arms. Gordon looked at the ceiling. My mother laid her hand on my knee. A light touch. An anchor. The judge looked down at the file. He rested his pen on the page and did not move it. "Before we do that," he said, "I will return to the record entered at our last session, the DD-214, the VA award letter, the will. Taken together, they tell a simple story." He paused. He let the room hear the words "simple story." He did not smile. He did not need to. "The simple story is this. Mr. Hale served. He provided for his spouse. He named his executor. He documented it. We will honor it." The room went still again. The kind of still that makes small sounds big. A shoe scuff. A cough held back. The click of a pen cap somewhere in the 3rd row. The judge lifted the key. He looked at it a long breath, then handed it to the clerk. "Let us see," he said, "what the box shows." We followed the bailiff to the basement level. Cool air, cement smell, a hum behind the walls like distant bees. The vault door sat wide, a round mouth with teeth of steel. The bank officer signed a form, squared it with the edge of the counter, and led us to a small room with a table the size of a card game and 2 straight chairs. The clerk set the tray down. The key made a neat, bright click. The officer slid the box forward and lifted the lid. We stood where the judge told us to stand. He wanted a clear view. He wanted hands where he could see them. He wanted a list read out loud and repeated back. Inside, a narrow envelope with the will's older copy. A Ziploc bag with the deed to the house folded in thirds. A slim leather wallet with 3 photographs and 2 dog tags on a chain. 1 paper-wrapped roll of coins dated the year my parents married, and a narrow blue ribbon folded around a thick card. On the card, in my father's block letters, GI insurance, policy, beneficiary, spouse, secondary, eldest child. There was also a small velvet box with a brass hinge. The officer opened it and turned it so the judge could see without touching. A ring I knew. My father's father's. A flat gold band, worn smooth. He used to spin it on the table to amuse us when we were little. He would say, "Listen." We would put our ears close to the wood. The ring would sing a tiny circle song as it slowed. The officer lifted each item with careful fingers and spoke its name. The clerk repeated. I copied, my pen steady, the words stacked like bricks with mortar between them. Nothing dramatic. Strong anyway. The judge asked my aunt if anything was missing. She opened her mouth. She closed it. I thought there would be, she started, then stopped. Her eyes flicked to the photographs. She reached a hand as if to touch. The bailiff's brow lifted. She pulled her hand back. The judge nodded to the officer. The items went back in the box for the moment, then onto the table again, then into clear plastic sleeves. Inventory complete. Signatures left and right. The chain of custody lay like a straight line on the page. Back upstairs, the courtroom felt smaller, like a room you leave and then enter again to find you've grown a little taller. We sat. The judge spoke. We have an accurate list, he said. We have a will. We have a VA record. We have a beneficiary designation. We have timestamps. We also have testimony about a visit that did not follow procedure. He looked at my aunt. Do you wish to amend your statement regarding your purpose in opening the box? She swallowed. I was checking on the flag, she said. The burial flag. I thought it might be in there. It was not, the judge said. No, she said. It was not. He waited. People tell the truth when the room makes room for it. And I thought the ring should go to Pete, she added, voice thin. The ring is listed under specific bequest? The judge asked, looking down. My lawyer flipped and nodded. To spouse during lifetime, she read, then to eldest child, unless declined. If declined by eldest, to next named. My aunt stared at the bench as if the wood might give her a new story. It did not. The judge turned to me. Ms. Hale, do you accept the appointment as executor and the obligations attached? I do. He signed. The sound of the nib against the paper was delicate, but we all heard it. He set a hearing date for repayment on any expenses I had fronted in the last 90 days for end-of-life care. He asked my aunt's counsel to submit any receipts they intended to claim. He told both parties, with no change in tone, that future filings should be specific and supported. I do not read feelings, he said. I read documents. On the courthouse steps, the sky felt nearer. The air smelled like hot stone and bus diesel and a food truck 2 blocks over. My mother stood beside me. Her hand shook on my arm. It was not fear. It was release. Bev stood on my other side with a small smile, the kind that begins in the eyes. My aunt walked past without meeting my gaze. Pete said nothing. He held the door for his mother. He looked older than he had that morning. Gordon cleared his throat and addressed my mother with that smooth, neutral voice. I can help gather utility bills for the estate account, he said. Thank you, my mother said. Anna will coordinate. He nodded. He had practiced that nod. He used it at neighborhood association meetings and funerals. He would use it here too. But the center of the circle had shifted, and he felt it even if he would never say so. At home that evening, I laid the executor letter on the kitchen table. The blue folder sat to its right. The dog lay across my feet. I made a list on a yellow pad. Simple steps. Bank appointment. Insurance call. House deed check. Inventory the closet with Mom. Keep the jacket. The jacket stays. I took the velvet box out of my bag and set it down. The ring lay inside like a quiet sun. I spun it once on the table and listened. The sound rose, then fell. A circle song with an honest end. Sunday afternoon, we met at my mother's. We chose to keep the inventory of the house to the people named on the will and one church friend. No more. Aunt Carol asked to come. I said yes. It was easier to tell the truth near the closets. We started in the bedroom. 2 piles. Keep for mom, mark for estate. A third for donation, handled at the end. No one could slip. No one could add or remove without the list hearing it happen. Shoes, belts, books. The jacket stayed on the door. The smell of cedar was almost gone. I put a sachet in the pocket, a small kindness for the fabric. At the dresser, my aunt lifted a shirt and held it by the shoulders. "It's just clothes," she said. Said it from habit. The phrase was a reflex. It had been her little hammer for years. I looked at the shirt, a navy Oxford, frayed at the cuffs. I thought of my father ironing, the salt, the paper bag. I lifted the corners of the collar to check for markings. Inside, in faded pen, a date. The day he started the job at the parts warehouse after the Navy. I felt the scratch of the numbers under my nail. "It's not just clothes," I said, not loud, clear. "It's a record." My aunt's mouth softened, just at the edges. She set the shirt down. She did not argue. She did not agree. She let the shirt be what it was. That was enough for the moment. The jacket had something else in the inside pocket now. I had put it there. An index card. On it, the date of the hearing, the judge's name, the case number. I wanted a small paper with a clean line to rest against the weight of the cloth. We ate sandwiches at noon. Ham, mustard, lettuce. The plates clinked. Bev rinsed the knives. The kitchen smelled like dill and lemon. Sun cut across the floor in rectangles. After lunch, Aunt Carol picked up the velvet box. She looked at the ring. She closed the lid and opened it again. She spoke without looking at me. "It should follow the will," she said. Her voice was even. She had found a safe place to stand, a place that did not require her to admit or fight. "Yes," I said. "It should." She set the box down. "Your father," she said, and then she didn't finish. Her eyes moved to the window. Outside, a squirrel raced along the fence like a double stitch. Pete came that evening to collect a box of photographs his mother had claimed under shared family. I made a list as we loaded the car. Box 1, photos. Box 2, recipe cards, duplicates only. Box 3, the high school yearbooks with dog-eared pages. I wrote the time, I wrote my initials, I wrote his. He signed. The pin click sounded final and also gentle. The sun slid lower. He turned to me with his cap in his hands. "I got carried away," he said. "At the courthouse." "It's a loud room," I said. He nodded. "Let me know about the gas money," he added. "For those clinic runs, I can cover some. I should have before." "Bring receipts if you have them," I said. "I will," he said. And I believed him. I made copies of everything that night. I brought the originals to the bank the next morning and opened the estate account. The teller had a tired kindness in her face, like a person who holds doors for strangers even after a long day. She offered a chair. She slid forms across without flapping them. Her pen did not scratch. She asked if I wanted paper statements. I said yes. Paper is a comfort when fog lifts slow. Insurance called that afternoon. The voice on the phone spoke in careful phrases. "We have your documentation," she said. "We'll process within 10 business days." She asked for my mother for the final confirmation. I handed the phone to Mom. Mom said yes. Her voice wobbled on the second syllable, then found itself. She gave the correct address, spelled her name letter by letter, thanked the woman, and set the phone down. Then she put both her palms flat on the table and exhaled. "Your father would be—" She started and stopped. She did not try again. She didn't have to. We returned to court for the final session in June. The courtroom had learned our faces by then. The clerk nodded at us like neighbors. The judge wore the same calm. His pen lay straight on the pad. He confirmed the estate account. He confirmed the insurance paperwork. He confirmed the inventory. The bank had submitted a statement about the unpermitted visit to the box. There would be no charges. There would be a note. The judge read the note into the record without tone. Notes are quiet fences. They are not punishment. They are the shape of next time. He turned to my aunt's counsel. Any further claims? The blue tie flipped through his folder as if it might grow a new page. It did not. No, Your Honor. The judge turned to me. Ms. Hale, any further requests? No, Your Honor. I paused. Only thanks. He nodded. Then he did a simple thing. He looked at my mother and said, Mrs. Hale, I am sorry for your loss. Not from a script, not like a clerk, but like a person in the next pew. He turned to the room. We are concluded. We rose. The sound of people leaving was soft. Fabric, wood, a cough held back. It felt like rain on a tin roof far away. On the sidewalk, a breeze lifted the edge of my blouse. My aunt came up. She stood too close, the old habit, and then stepped back. A new thing. Do you still have the iron? She asked out of nowhere. Yes, I said. He used to do my hymns when Mom was tired, she said. I forgot. I remember, I said. She nodded. Small. Keep the jacket, she said. He'd want that. I will, I said. She looked up at the courthouse windows. They reflected the sky, bright and blank. I said ugly things, she said. She did not apologize. She did not need my permission to feel bad. She just said the line and let it hang there between us, the size of a receipt. I let it hang too. Then I said, Your signal has been received. She blinked. She did not get the joke. It wasn't a joke. It was a note on the file. Statement acknowledged. Record closed. At home that evening, I carried the jacket to a hook by the front door. Not a shrine, not a stage, just a place where cloth can hang and air can move. I slipped the ring onto a chain and laid it in my jewelry dish. The dish made of matte clay felt cool on my palm. Later, the kids called from campus. One asked how the hearing went. The other asked what a DD-214 was. I explained in small words. Paper that tells the truth about service. A line between talk and proof. They listened. I could hear the dorm hallway behind them. Doors, laughter, a microwave ping. Life starting, steady, and unbothered. When I hung up, I made tea. I opened the spiral notebook with the oil stains and wrote 3 lines under Dad's last entry. Bank complete. Insurance processing. Will honored. I dated and initialed it. I closed the cover and ran my thumb across the wire. It snagged and let go. I slept well. No triumph, no drumbeat. Just the quiet of work done right. In the morning, the sun came through the blinds in wide bands. Dust moved in the air like soft snow. I stood in it and breathed. A week later, we held a small memorial at church. Not the heavy kind, not the public event. A room of people who had known my father as a man who fixed mowers and folded chairs after potlucks. I brought the jacket on a wood hanger and set it on the back of a pew. Someone asked if they could touch the sleeve. Yes, I said. Gently. They did. I watched their hands. You can tell respect by how fingers land on cloth. After the service, I found Bev in the vestibule. She had a paper cup of lemonade. She gave me a look that said everything and did not require a reply. I nodded. She nodded. Quiet is enough when the work is finished. At home, I wrote a note to the judge and did not mail it. It said, Thank you for reading my father's name with care. Thank you for letting the record be the record. Thank you for the pause before the last line. Then I put the note in the blue folder. Some things are meant for keeping, not sending. Summer came on heavy. The house smelled like tomatoes and cut grass. The new normal arrived not with trumpets, but like a bus that keeps a schedule. Morning, Mail, work, dishes, sleep. A life is a list you consent to show up for. One night, I opened the closet and touched the jacket. The cedar scent was gone now. In its place, a clean, empty smell, like a page turned. I slid my hand into the inside pocket and felt the index card I'd put there. I pulled it out, read the case number, and smiled. I slipped it back. I stood there in the quiet. "It's just clothes," I said aloud, to the air, to the old phrase, to the part of me that still wanted to argue with the past. Then I answered myself, light but sure. "And also a record." Both true. One does not erase the other. I turned off the closet light. I walked down the hall. My husband looked up from the couch. "You okay?" he asked. "I am," I said. "Finally, even." He patted the cushion. I sat. The dog rested his head on my knee. The TV murmured the evening news. I thought of Dad setting his watch to it, a small ritual that made time feel honest. The phone buzzed. A text from Bev. Checking in. I typed back. "Your signal has been received." She sent a heart and a thumbs up. I laughed. The sound surprised me. It did not feel disloyal. This is what stayed. A straight spine, a folder with clean tabs, the memory of a judge reading a simple form like a prayer, the way a room can fall silent without anyone losing their voice. I think my father would have liked that ending. Not flashy, correct. So if you are sitting with a blue folder of your own, or a jacket someone called Just Clothes, or a ring that sings a quiet circle song on your kitchen table, I see you. I won't tell you what to do. I'll tell you what heard me through. Dates, names, receipts, a calm voice in a loud room, and the long, steady mercy of a record kept clean. We turned the porch light off early that night. The house let out a little creak as it settled. Somewhere a train sounded far away. I closed my eyes. I slept. Where are you watching from? If this story met your own quiet fight, comment, "I see you." Subscribe, slow and steady, to help more survivors keep their records clean and their voices calm.